I'll jump ahead a little bit or whatever, just because you hit on it real quick, Fabian. Like even talking
Sure.
about being in that conference of the Muslim background believers, I've got tears in my eyes just feeling like the love that the Lord has for them. So one of the things we was wanting to talk to you about is, just how hard it is, or it's the enemy, I think, makes it seem hard, like you said, with fear, even witnessing to Muslims and people of Islamic background. It's really avoided in the States. And as far as missionaries go, from what we've been told, there's not a lot of people that go to Muslim countries. And if you could just hit on that, you learned a couple things of what not to do, and then things that to do. So as we got students and things that have the love of the Lord, and they're catching this, the Lord's given them this heart for the Middle East. Maybe just a couple tips or some things you learned, especially what not to do. That way we don't go and make those same mistakes, and things that really open their hearts to who Jesus truly is, that he's the Son of God, and not the Son of Mary, not
Sure.
just the Son of Mary.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll touch, I think it's on one of your questions further down, but as far as I talk about just a little bit the fear and what, it keeps people back. As the generation that we live, we're very influenced by what comes through the internet and media, social media. We're very influenced. It's amazing by what, of course, those things can be used as a tool, but in the same way, enemy uses them too. And there's a lot of problems in the Middle East. There's this region. There's always conflict, and there's always conflict. There's wars. Islam does not produce peace. So because of this, it gives this picture, also affects the church. As things, whatever goes through our eyes or ears is going to affect us unless we are more influenced by God's heart and His word. Then we're going to shift we'll shift to what's influenced us the most. And
Wow.
Yeah.
so that's why even, sure, I see news, but I'm not going to watch and keep being a news addict to the point that I'm just overwhelmed by what I see, rather by what Jesus has for me and what he wants me to do. And it's true. I mean, Islam is violent, and not all Muslims are violent, of course. And many Muslims just want to live, want to have a normal life, and want their children to do well and have opportunities like everybody else. And so because of the violence and hostility that we see coming from Muslim countries, of course, it affects the church. But people need to hear what Jesus is doing, and that many Muslims are coming to Jesus. And I'm a first-hand witness, front row. I get to just
Amen.
as far as the transformation that's taking place from people who were very worldly Muslims or very religious Muslims, or just all kinds of, when they encounter Jesus, how transformed they are. But as far as reaching Muslims, first, I'll tell people, you try, let's say you meet a Muslim, or you see, and it's pretty obvious she or he is a Muslim, and try not to just see them as a person, not as a Muslim. Oh no, try just remove that and see them as a normal person. They have the same problem as everybody else, which is the sin problem in the heart, and they're gonna have struggles, whether it's relationships, whether it's family, financial, health, lack of peace, addictions maybe. So in a normal person, there are things in that person, besides being a Muslim, that the gospel has the answer for, and Jesus wants to touch. So to not be intimidated, when going up to a Muslim, sure, it's very possible they may ask you things you are not able to answer. It's very possible. I've ran into that for years, but I made a decision years ago. I am not going to stop. Way back years ago when I was in Pensacola, Florida, I started going out on the streets. I come from Malta Island in Europe, and I'm in the Pensacola, churches, Bible Belt, whatever. And I'm going out on the streets, and I'm running into people that are drunk and high, and they could quote more scriptures than me, and ask me to see how much I know the Bible, and I was not able to answer. And I was thinking to myself, they are high, they were drunk, and they're challenging me with the Bible. I was very discouraged. But I remember I made a decision. I will not stop. So, same thing that applies to me and Muslims. Don't be discouraged. Don't feel that you have to know all how to answer, these questions. I still don't know how to answer all the questions, but I have a relationship with Jesus and I can share with them of who God is like, what it's like to have a relationship with God through Jesus. And this is one thing I do encourage people. Tell them, share your testimony. Tell them what Jesus has done and what is doing in your life. As much as possible, when a person gives you ears, a share of what your relationship with God is like through Jesus. Or just how he maybe speaks or provided or healed or changed you and many things. As you say that, those are all seeds that's picturing, making God, showing them that he is personal, that God is not just a creator and distant, but he's at work and he's changing lives. And so I encourage, you to share those things, which is all part of your testimony. So they'll get to hear that God is, again, not far and one day going to stand before him, which is true. That's as far as standing before him, but you can know him today. And he changes hearts and lives today. Also, I encourage people to ask, as simple, ask them, and this is a normal evangelism, but again, it applies to a Muslim too. How can I pray for you? And because again, they all have needs to some degree. They may say, "I'm fine, I'm all good." Sure, I mean, if somebody's not very interested, they're gonna say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm good." And you can ask them, "Do they need a physical healing?" Which I'm sure whoever's watching, listening, you do that. We do that in Iraq. We look for sick people. We look for opportunities to pray. Just look for opportunity to pray so that will give God an opportunity to answer our prayers, my prayer, your prayer, to show them that we're sent by God. But it's important that they get to hear from you that God is not very far, but he is near. And you can experience him. And you can experience him today. Tell them who Jesus is as much as possible. Of course, if they ask me a direct question, I'm gonna answer them. I don't beat around it. Just so I try not to get them to put up a wall. Yeah.